And as we approach the final weeks of Phase 1 of the hostage deal, negotiations are supposed to be underway for Phase 2 of the deal, but have yet to gain any real momentum. Joining us now with more on the hostage for ceasefire deal and the security situation and considerations in Gaza is Brigadier General Amir Avivi, the chairman and founder of the Israel Defense and Security Forum. Great to have you in the studio today.
Thank you very much.
So I want to start, we saw U.S. President Trump expressing his shock over the condition of the hostages that we saw released on Saturday. The world has expressed their shock. There's now a heightened sense of urgency to bring the hostages home. But here we also have Trump expressing skepticism as to the hostages deal, as to its timeline. What do you make of his statement and his sort of threat to Hamas?
I think we're all shocked, and we know they're held by monsters. And I think that we're in a very, very complex situation. We're in stage one. We negotiated this stage for more than half a year. And it's not the difficult part. The difficult part is the second stage. And I think that when we talk about the second stage, Israel is saying clearly, second stage, you Hamas, your leaders need to leave Gaza, you need to lay down your weapons, and you need to give us all the hostages. Now, what are the chances of this happening just by talking about it? They're not very high. So I think that the realistic thing that might happen in the coming months is that hopefully we'll do the whole first stage. Hopefully, I'm not even sure that this will happen.
That the first stage will be
the first stage will be done fully. I don't know. It's not certain. We could try and extend it. Say to Hamas, let's continue the first stage, continue releasing 3-4 hostages every week, and we'll extend the ceasefire and continue bringing into Gaza humanitarian aid and so on. And this will give Hamas more time to organize, to release more prisoners, everything they want to do. But if this is not going to happen, there is a good chance that when we reach the beginning of March, they will stop giving us hostages, and we'll have no choice but to go back to a full-scale war in Gaza, which will be conducted completely differently from what we have seen until now. The army is thinking about new operational ideas, which we'll, of course, won't discuss here, but definitely are different from what they did before. And they're also going to treat completely differently the issue of the humanitarian aid. It's obvious that we cannot continue with this idea that we're giving Hamas the humanitarian aid. They're controlling their people through the humanitarian aid and also making a lot of money and recruiting many, many terrorists to the organization. This needs to stop. Yep. And I think that when President Trump said, if you don't give the hostages, there will be hell, the point in which we have to implement this idea of hell will be probably at the end of the first stage. I'm very, very skeptic that we'll manage to move to the second stage and really achieve what we want to achieve, all goals of war, eradicating Hamas as a governmental and military entity, bringing all the hostages back and creating a completely new reality in Gaza.
And yet, Israel has already just today, fully withdrawn from the Netzarim corridor. How does this affect, the security situation for Israel? If it were to have to go back into Gaza, how does this change the situation there?
Well, I must say that this is reversible. Israel can take control again of Netzarim corridor in a matter of hours if they decide to do so. Israel could push the Gazans again south if they decide to do so. This is reversible. What is more complicated is the release of thousands of murderous terrorists into Judea and Samaria and outside of Gaza. These terrorists are going to try and build militias, small terror armies. This is the huge problem we need to deal with. And this will require, once this deal is over, to really put a lot of military pressure on the terror infrastructure in Judea and Samaria, and also in Gaza. I can assure you, Lidar, that both the government and the army, and especially the new leadership of the army, the new chief of staff, are very resolute in their intention to bring total victory and achieve the goals of war. I see it everywhere. I trust our soldiers that they will do the job and whatever is needed to really win decisively.
And we saw from the hostage releases and from recent weeks, Hamas, of course, putting on a big PR show. But it does show that it still has some weapons, some capabilities, many Palestinian terrorists in full military gear. What are Hamas's capabilities today?
So I must say that their capabilities have been degraded dramatically. They're nothing like their capabilities before the 7th of October. Many of the terrorists, when we fought in the north of Gaza, the south, the center, they fled into the humanitarian zone. So the guys that you see with this clean uniform they took out of their suitcase, these are the cowards that run away and hide it behind our own people and their own civilians. And now they're showing off their, their weapons and so on. But Hamas has been degraded, and I think that once the IDF goes in, we'll be able to deal with them, and especially if we use other tactics and also deal with the humanitarian aid.
And, I want to ask just one final question. From a security standpoint, what do you make of President Trump's plan for the day after, to relocate the Palestinians to Egypt, to Jordan, to other countries?
I think there is a huge motivation inside the Gazan society to emigrate. It has been there before the 7th of October. Certainly now when Gaza is ruined, people want to emigrate to other places, and the Egyptians are blocking them. They're doing something that is inconceivable. In Ukraine, 8 million people left Ukraine. And Russia didn't conquer all of Ukraine, just a part of it. And yet 8 million people left Ukraine. Nobody blocked them. Nobody prevented them from going outside. This is what the Egyptians are doing. And it needs to stop. I think that President Trump needs to pressure the Egyptians to open the border. And if they don't do so, we can find other ways to assist them. I think that people who want to leave should be let, go wherever they want to go. Exactly.
Brigadier General in the Reserves, Amir Avivi, thank you so much for your analysis today.
My pleasure.